Okay, so today I wanted to go over what we've done so far in Chapter 6 and continue on. I think we'll almost finish the chapter, but not quite today. We'll have one more class period on Chapter 6 before our workbook homework is due, which will be on Sunday evening. This Sunday evening, our workbook homework will be due. So hopefully you're keeping on track, on top of it, keeping track of it, so that you don't have to pull an all weekender working on it, right? It's quite a lengthy assignment, so let's try to keep on top of that. Okay, so let me hop open. Let me get my book open. So far we've talked about movement from triad to triad in a couple different ways. Remember, we're restricted to only root position writing. So we've talked about root position writing with our bass note being a fourth or a fifth apart, a third or a sixth apart, and today we're going to talk about the bass being a second or a seventh apart. But real quick, a recap. If our bass motion is moving by a fourth or a fifth, what do we know?
We have 3 ways we can work with it. Common tones and stepwise. Similar motion by second or third and tertian. Thank you. Leaps in the third, common tones and stepwise motion.
Good. So we have 3 ways of moving, and we have 1 common tone between the 2 chords. Good, Pete. And then next, we last time talked about the bass moving by either a third or a sixth, and we learned what?
There's 2 common tones, stepwise motion.
Yeah. Good, Pete and John. 2 common tones. We move by stepwise motion. Awesome. So let's hop in here today. Today, we are moving by a second or a seventh. Now, the book tells us in this discussion, we are going to assume the bass moves by a second and not a seventh. That would kind of be disjunct motion to move by a seventh. It's possible, but for our intents and purposes today, we're going to be moving by seconds rather than by sevenths. In 4-part texture, they give us contrary to the bass as our method. If the root is doubled in the first chord, as is usually the case, the voice leading is usually quite simple. If the bass moves up by step, the upper voices move down to the nearest chord tone. If the bass moves down by step, the upper voices move up to the nearest chord tone. So we have motion that is contrary to the bass. And that's pretty much it.
Hey, Doc, is it mostly in all of these voice leading examples, it seems, well, maybe the tertian, but it seems like there's always contrary motion between the bass and the upper voices. Is that pretty much true?
Probably it is for what we're restricted to now, only moving in root position. But we're going to open that up in future chapters where we are not just moving root position to root position chord, and then you're going to see a change.
Okay.
Good question. Other questions? Cool. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Here, we're back. I'm going to clear my screen if that's all right. Okay. So here they give us an example. They don't give us Roman numerals. I'm assuming that it is a 4 chord going to a 5 chord. But doesn't really matter. We have the bass moving up by a second. So everything else is moving down to the nearest chord tone. And in the next example, we move down in the bass. So everything moves up. And this looks like a 6 chord going to a 5 chord. Are you with me? Questions on that? Okay, so the progression of chord 5 to chord 6, or the dominant going to a major 6, is known as the deceptive progression. For reasons that will become clear in the next chapter, or it'll become clear when you listen to it. It'll fake you out. It doesn't go where you think it should go. In terms of voice leading, deceptive progressions present some special problems. In most cases, the leading tone, scale degree 7, moves parallel with the bass, resolving up to the tonic. Whereas the other two voices move down, contrary to the bass, to the next available chord tone. This results in a doubled third in the 6th chord.
Oh, because the third is the first. It's a relative, right? Something like that.
Hold that thought. We're going to check it out. In the major mode, if the leading tone is in an inner voice, it may move down by step to scale degree 6. As an example, 6.6-9C, because the lack of resolution is not so apparent to the ear. This is not acceptable in the minor mode, however, because the awkward interval of an augmented second that results, as in example 6-9D. So let's look at these now. So we have a 5 chord, which is D, F sharp, A, going to a 6 chord, which is E, G, B. So what we did is we had root, root, third, fifth, and we went to root, doubled third, fifth. And normally doubling the third is frowned upon, shall we say? It's like jaywalking maybe, huh? All right, so the F sharp moved up, so we didn't frustrate our leading tone. It doesn't sound horrible because, well, yes, we've doubled the third. Every chord tone is present. Right? So, Pete, what was it that you were asking?
I was just saying that is the reason the third is doubled is because it acts as it works where it doesn't work in other chords. It works because the 6 is a relative minor, so the third would be the first.
Yes, you were right.
Is that right?
You were right.
All right, cool. So it kind of work. It could sort of be like a 1 chord. Is that why they call it a deceptive progression?
Yeah, kind of. It fakes you out. My favorite thing to do is to play this for students to show them what the deceptive progression sounds like. I faked you out. You weren't expecting to go there. I deceived you. Happens in church music a ton, so that they can repeat that last stanza one more time. Right? So that's the deceptive cadence. It doesn't go where you think it's going to go. And the church musicians use it all the time to get one more stanza of that song. So that's why it's called the deceptive cadence. Did I answer your question, Pete? All right. Okay, in example B, we have... I'm sorry, I'm playing it in the wrong key. We went to G minor. We're used to it going to... But they deceive us and go to the major 6. And they did the same thing. The leading tone goes to Do where it's supposed to, but the result is a doubled third. Okay, in example C, what happens? We totally don't resolve the leading tone where we're supposed to, but your ear gets tricked because T does go to Do in the soprano. So it sounds like it did go where it's supposed to, even though it didn't. Does that make sense? We're in the key of G major.
We're looking at C?
Correct. So we're in the key of G major, so our leading tone is scale degree 7 here. F sharp. We got the sharp in our key signature. So that's T, and it should go to Do, but it doesn't. That's T, and it goes to So. But the sopranos go Re, Do, so we hear T, and we hear Do, but it's not in the same voice. So in like a choral ensemble, you probably wouldn't notice it at all because it's going to be similar sounding voices that are so close. But if it was like in a band and it was totally different instruments that had totally different timbres or sound quality, you might hear it better. And on the piano, you wouldn't hear it at all. Right? Because it's the same. But you can't pull that maneuver in minor is what they're saying, because you get this augmented second interval if you do. And when I play it, you'll hear it. Are you all right with that? Questions, comments, concerns? All right. The voice leading away from a triad with a double third must be handled carefully because the conventions discussed in this chapter all assume doubled roots. Example 6-10. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound with you. Example 6-10 provides two examples of the deceptive progression, one in B flat and one in G minor. One in B flat major, one in G minor. In the first one, the 5 to 6 chord progression in B flat major, the leading tone is in an inner voice, the alto part. And Bach avoids resolving it to tonic, as in example 6-9C. Remember that this is only practicable, big words there, when in major mode with the leading tone in an inner voice. In the major 5 to major 6 progression, where the key has shifted to G minor, Bach resolves the leading tone to tonic, resulting in a doubled third in the major 6 chord, as in example 6-9B. So let's take a look at this. Let's listen to it.
Example 6-10.
One more time.
Example 6-10.
He totally faked us out at the end. We thought we were going to G minor, and we went to E flat major. So we have a 5 to 6 here, and we have a 5 to 6 here. Difference being number 1 is in B flat minor, number 2 is in G minor. B flat major, G minor. Did I say that right? Okay, so in this example, we have F, F, A, C, which is root, root, third, fifth, going to G, D, G, B flat, which is root, fifth, root, third. So all our tones are there. However, we have scale degree 7 here, which is our leading tone. That's not right. Yes, it is. And instead of taking it to soprano, to do, instead of T going to do, we go to sol. We go to la. However, our soprano ends up playing that do, so it sounds like it resolved where we wanted it to go, even though it didn't. You with me? The instrumentation was the organ, so we didn't really notice.
Example 6-10.
So we went to G, G, B flat, D. So T did not go to do, T went to la. Now in the second example, Bach took T to do. I'm sorry. Yes. Because we shifted to G minor. T, do. Soprano went re, do. And then so we have a doubled third. Does everybody see it? The whole point of this is to show you that soprano and alto doubled our third in our 6th chord. Which is usually frowned upon. We got root, third, and fifth. So the point I guess I would make is that if it's a doubled note, it sounds less offensive. Versus if you actually double it at a different octave. Does that make sense? And the fact that it happens in an inner voice, it's kind of hidden, swept under the rug. What are you talking about? We didn't jaywalk. Are we all right with this? Can I clear my screen and move on? Okay, in three-part textures, the smoothest voice leading happens when you have a complete triad followed by an incomplete triad, which has two roots and a third. Or an incomplete triad, which has two roots and a third, followed by a complete triad. In other words, with roots a second apart, the sequence will usually be complete to incomplete or incomplete to complete. Remember to resolve scale degree 7 to 1 in the 5 to minor 6 chord progression, with the possible exception of cases in which the scale degree 7 is in the inner voice in a major key. Let's take a look at what they're talking about. Okay, here we are. We are in C major. Notice we have a complete to an incomplete chord, complete to an incomplete chord, an incomplete to a complete chord, and an incomplete to a complete chord. Let's see how they did that. We're in C major and we have F, A, C going to G, B, D. Now we have a complete chord that we have a root, the F, the third, the A, and the C, the fifth. And we're going to an incomplete chord where we have a G, a B, and another G. So we are missing our fifth of that chord. Everybody all right with that? This is what happens when you want smooth voice leading in three-part writing. Here we have an A, a C, and an E going to a G, B, D. We've got our A, we've got our E, we've got our C. We have a complete triad going to an incomplete triad of G, G, and B. We have omitted our fifth. And remember, we always have to omit the fifth, not the third, because the third tells us whether we are major or minor. In the next example, we have an incomplete chord. We've doubled our F's, F, F, A. We don't have the C. And we go to a complete chord with a root, third, and a fifth. And in the last example, we have an incomplete chord. We have A, and C. We are missing our fifth, which would be the E. And we're going to a complete chord of G, B, and D. Questions, comments, concerns on that?
I just have one question. So, in three-part harmony, does it always have to go from complete to incomplete, or
No.
incomplete to complete?
No, it doesn't always have to, but they're saying that the smoothest voice leading happens when you do. Yeah. We all right with that?
And this is still for part writing with a second, where the roots are going up a second or down a second.
Up or down a second in root position.
Okay.
No inversions. Yep, you're right. Good. Okay, let's go on to this checkpoint quiz. How many pitch classes are shared between triads with roots a second apart?
None.
None. What about a third apart?
2 common tones.
2 common tones. A fourth or a fifth apart?
1.
Just one?
1. Good. Describe the 3 methods of connecting triads with roots of fourth or fifth apart. Pete did this earlier. We do common tone stepwise motion for way number 2. For way number for way number 1. For way number 2, we have similar motion by seconds or thirds. And then way number 3 is the tertian leap with stepwise and common tone. What is usually doubled in the second chord of a 5 to 6 or a major 5 to major 6?
The third.
The third. What is the possible exception to this?
If the root is doubled?
Minor progression.
Did we do this right? I'm confused now. Let's go back up here. Yeah, this results in a doubled third, right? The exception is the major 5 to the major 6, right? Is that the exception? What is the exception they're talking about?
Are they just talking about the augmented second and the minor?
I think so, in minor. Yeah, because they're saying it as a poor example, right? Let me read this one more time. What is usually doubled in the second chord? What is the possible exception to this? Well, in minor and in major, if we look at if we look at C, which they've called good, we do double the root. The exception is we don't double the root in minor. But in A and B, we double the third. So I'm not sure I understand the question. What is usually doubled in the second chord? Well, in this example, the third is doubled. In this example, the root is doubled. So I don't know that there's a usual, but what the exception is if you double the root in minor, it results of an augmented second. Does that make sense? I'm going to go with that.
So no doubling the root in a major 5, major 6.
In minor.
Okay.
You can do it perfectly fine in major like they did in C. They doubled the root. But if you do it in minor, you get the augmented second. We all right with that? Questions? All right. We are on to self-test 6-4. We're going to use all the root relationships which we've been given, moving by fourths or fifths, thirds or sixths, seconds or sevenths. They want us to complete this progression. They want us to do one example in 3-part writing and one in 4-part writing. I'm saying we're only going to do it in 4-part writing. I think you're going to find the very rare exception when we write for 3-part instead of 4-part, with the exception of your homework. But as we go on, in theory, we'll mainly be doing 4-part writing. Okay, when we move by fourths or fifths, they want us to put in the dash which method we used. So, here we go. Are you ready? We are in G major. Is this true? So we have what chords or what tones?
G and B for the first chord, or GBD.
GBD going to
E, G, B.
going to
The
C,
6.
E, G.
There we go. All right, so we can see that we have 2 common tones between the first 2 chords and 2 common tones between the next 2 chords. Our bass moves by third and third, so we have 2 common tones. All right, so we need a D in here somewhere, and probably want to double the root, yeah? You want to go to the D in the tenor? And the G in the alto? Does that work?
Couldn't you also do D below the first line and then double the G at the base? Sorry, double the G with the bass and the tenor.
So you're saying this?
Yeah. Couldn't
We
that
could.
also work?
That could work. Yep. Yeah, either one of those works. Okay. Now, we're moving by thirds, so we have 2 common tones. The soprano stays right where it's at. We could keep the alto where it's at. Does that work? Bass could move up, or tenor could move up to. Yeah, that works. Next, we have C, E, G. We have two common tones, but that doesn't necessarily mean we stay on them. So I need a G and an E. Well, we could stay on them. Path of least resistance, right?
Yeah, let's stay on them.
It's like, you know, football game's on. You get all the food and put it on the coffee table. And you don't have to move from the couch. Speaking of football, Sophia. That works, right? All right, next example. We have D, F, A going to G, B flat, D going to A, C sharp, E. Is this true? Where does that C sharp come from? I don't see a sharp anywhere in the key signature.
Accidentals.
Why do we have an accidental?
Because there's a C sharp naturally in D major.
But we're in D minor.
There shouldn't be a C sharp there.
Shouldn't there?
Well, it wouldn't make it a minor chord. It would make it a major chord.
Yeah, so it should be lowercase if they want a C natural. What is going on?
Oh. You're in a fifth.
Yeah, lowercase 5. So we are in what kind of minor? Have I stumped you all?
Yes.
Did I trick you? Did you fall?
Yes.
Did you fall for my
Totally.
setup? We're in harmonic minor, right? We're in D harmonic minor, which requires us to raise our leading tone from T to T. I saw a light bulb go on. And so we have to raise our leading tone, which is why they put a capital 5 here.
Oh.
So in natural minor, would the 5 be minor as well?
It would.
Oh, I thought the 5 was like always like major or something like that.
Nope. Doesn't have to be. No, it wouldn't be in natural. But if we are in harmonic minor, which I'm calling it the most frequently found form of minor.
Yeah, I'm with John. I thought the rule was always that the fifth was a dominant or a major chord, major triad.
I think I might be thinking of because like we went over the common triads found in minor,
right?
But that's not necessarily what it is every time, right?
Well, correct. And what it's saying is the most commonly found triad is when we are in harmonic minor. You will find a major 5. And that's why that C sharp, we have to raise our leading tone. Okay, so let's fill in our notes here. We've got a D and an A. We need an F somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think I have the F in the alto.
F in the alto. Okay.
And then maybe the tenor could be an A.
What does that do? Does that work? What have we doubled?
Doubled the fifth.
Doubled the fifth? Is that horrible?
It's not I guess it's not horrible, but
is there a better option?
Probably.
What do we like to double?
The root.
The root.
Do we have enough space to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go with that. All right. We have a big dash here, which means we're probably moving the bass by a fourth or a fifth, and they want us to tell us which one we're doing. Sure enough, our bass goes up by a fourth. So this means that we are either going to do way number 1, way number 2, or way number 3. Do we have a common tone? Yes, we have a common tone of a D. So, should we try to keep that common tone in the tenor? Everybody's screaming, yes! There's my D in the tenor. So, did we have a tertian leap?
No.
Well, the third of our first chord is an F, and the third of our second chord is a B flat. Well, the B flat's in the soprano, so no, unless we were to double the third, which is frowned upon. We do not have a tertian leap, so I'm thinking that we're going to have way number 1, and that this is going to move to
Up to G.
Up to G.
So again, this is a little confusing for me because it seems like in method 1 they wanted contrary motion between the bass and the upper voices, but here we have similar motion.
Let's go back and look at that. That's on page 83, I believe.
Okay.
So it says one method for writing this root relationship in 4 parts is to keep in the same voice the tone that is common to both chords, while the remaining 2 upper parts move by step in the same direction. The stepwise motion will be ascending for root movement of a perfect fifth down and descending for root movement of a perfect fifth up. So here we have a perfect fourth up. True? So I think, Pete, and this was very confusing last time. If you watch my last YouTube video, I did a lot of editing on it, and I mixed both classes in my video. It doesn't say anything about a perfect fourth. But it does for a perfect fifth.
I noticed in one of the rules they have, well, they're inverted. So I think it was in
Rule number 2.
Rule number 2, yeah. It was if the fifth goes up, the voices will go down, or vice versa if it's a fourth or something like that.
But they don't give that for way number 1. You're right. So I think because we moved by a fourth, we can do what we did. Does that make sense? Okay, that was a good question. Makes me think. All right, next chord. Our bass is moving up by a second, so we know that we have no common tones between the 2 chords. And so because our bass moved up, everything else is supposed to move down to the nearest chord tone. So G went to A. I'm sorry, B flat went to A. G is going to go down to E. And D is going to move to C sharp. Are we all right with that? Okay, next example. We are in A major. So we're going to have A, C sharp, E. We're going to F sharp, A, C sharp. Going to B, D, F sharp. Are we all right with that? Is that good? Did we do it right? All right, in the first example, we're going down a third, which means we should have two common tones. Let's see, we got A and C sharp and A and C sharp. So our soprano stayed on the A. We need a C sharp and an E, and we don't have a lot of room to do it with. Where do you want to put your tones?
I think, isn't the only option to put the tenor on the C sharp and the alto on the E?
I think you're right. Without crossing voices, I think you're right. Okay. So we keep the A. We could keep the C sharp in the tenor. Doesn't mean we have to, but we could, right? And then
You could put the F in the alto or another F in the alto.
okay. Works beautifully. Next, our bass moves up by a fourth. So they've given us a dash here to tell them which method we're going to use. Our common note is the F sharp.
We have a tertian leap.
Hey, hey. You recognize the tertian leap. Beautifully done. So that means we're going to do way number 3, right? We're going to have the common tone and the alto. What are we going to do with that tenor?
Step up to the D.
You could, which would double our third.
That would, that's true.
Can we do that?
Would that still be considered step though?
From C sharp to B?
Oh, sorry. I thought that was on A for some reason.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, that works. All right, next we are in E minor. EGB. Going to B, D sharp, F sharp. Going to C, E, G. Again, how do we get two sharps in that second chord when there's only one in our key signature?
Is it just harmonic minor again?
Harmonic minor.
Harmonic minor, raising our leading tone of D to D sharp. Good. All right. How are we going to fill that first chord in? We've got an E and a G. We need a B somewhere.
I think put the B in the tenor.
Pretty much have to, don't we?
Yeah, and then we could just double the root with the alto.
Good. All right. We are moving by a fourth. We have one common tone, which is
B.
B. Do we want to stay with it? Then we can move stepwise motion to get the D sharp. Way number 1. All right, we're going up a second, so we have 0 common tones. Bass went up, everything else has to move down to the nearest chord tone. F sharp moved down to E, D sharp's going to move down to C, B is going to move down to G. Are we all right with that? All right, new key, B flat major. We have a 3 chord, which is D, F, A. Going to a 6 chord, which is G, B flat, D. Going to a 5 chord, which is F, A, C. All right, let's fill it in. We got a D and a D. We need an F and an A. Where do you want it?
You could put the A in the tenor and the F in the alto.
Nicely spaced, right? All right. We're moving up a 4th, so we have 1 common tone, which in this case is the D. It stays the same in soprano. Our F would have to leap to a B flat for the tertian leap. Do we want to do that?
Sure. Do we want to?
I don't know. Our problem is our restricted space. This A is right next to that B flat, so if we put the B flat there, and we double this G, it's a lot smoother. Right? Now the book tells us back on page 83, I think it is, when we learned about the 3 ways, it told us that the 3rd way is the least smooth of them all, and it's used frequently when we're going from close position to open position or open position to close position. But both of these seem so compact. I think that these are both close position, right? So probably don't want the tertian leap here. It's pretty smooth doing it that way. Would you agree?
Yeah.
All right, our bass moves down by 2nd. So we have no common tones. And everything is going to move up to the nearest chord tone. Down by 2nd, up. G is going to move up to
A.
A. And B flat is going to move up to
To the C.
C. All right. Can I clear my screen? Okay, next. They want us to fill in the alto parts. This is the same thing. Is it not? Well, let's knock one out real quick. Okay, we're in E flat major. E flat, G, B flat. Moving to the 6th chord, which is C, E flat, G. Moving to the 5 chord, which is B flat, D, F. Going back to E flat, G, B flat. Going to A flat, C, E flat. Going to E flat, G, B flat. Back to A flat, C, E flat. Going to B flat, D, F. Staying on that chord. Back to E flat, G, B flat. All right, we're pretty close in proximity here, so we pretty much have to do what?
Doubling the third?
No.
No.
We pretty much have to put the B flat in the tenor and double the root in the alto because we're so close together. Are you with me? By the way, did you see Michigan's win over Minnesota this weekend? Oh, go blue. All right. Next, our bass is moving down by a third, which means we're going to have two common tones. They are E flat, G, E flat, G. You with me? We stay on our common tone in the soprano. We could stay on our common tone in the alto. And that would make us go down to the G there. Does that work? What's the problem with that? What part writing problem did I just create? Who sees it? I have a bad answer on the board. What did I double? What did I create? I went from root fifth, root third to root fifth, root fifth. Lies. Root fifth, third, fifth. So I doubled my fifth. And as a result, I have a big fat parallel fifths in the left hand. Sounds like a bunch of strings tuning. No good. So what do I got to do instead? I want to double my root, yes. And when I have roots that are a third apart, what's the method? Two common tones in stepwise motion. I've got the common tones in the soprano and alto, and I did not follow my stepwise motion originally. I leaped or skipped down, and that's no good. So now I've got my act together. All right, next we're going to a 5 chord. I've got a root and a root. I need my third and my fifth preferably. We move down by second, which means we have 0 common tones, and our method of writing is to go up, contrary to the bass, to the next chord tone. The E flat becomes the F. The C is going to become the
B flat.
D.
Oh, D. Oh, sorry.
You with me? Okay. We now move up a fourth in our bass. We have 1 common tone, which is the B flat. And they want us to tell them which way we are going to move. Well, we don't stay on the common tone, do we? We don't stay on the common tone, so that tells us pretty much we are doing way number 2. True story? So, we're going to move down, which means we need to move down. Which means we need to move down. Does that work? We have root, third, fifth, and root. Root, fifth, root, third. Yep. All right. Next, we're moving down by a fifth. So this is the perfect example, Pete, for what we were talking about earlier. On page 83. It says specifically the stepwise motion will be ascending for root movement of a perfect fifth down, which is what we have. All right, so here we go. Fifth down, everything else is supposed to be moving up. Are we going to do way number 1, way number 2, or way number 3? Our common tone is
the E.
the E flat.
Yeah.
So we could keep the E flat here. We don't have a tertian leap because our third of our chord is a G, which would have to leap to a C. And our third moves to the root. So we could do way number 1 here.
Move that to a C.
Yeah. Does that work?
The tenor.
I like it. Okay, now we move up a fifth. And 83 tells us that our motion should be descending for a root movement of a perfect fifth up. So our fifth goes up, everything else is going to go down. What? Is that what happened? We must not be doing way number 1. Right? Because we don't have stepwise motion down. We have stepwise motion up. That sounds like a way number 2 to me. So if that's the case, this E flat's going to move to G. And the C is going to move to
to E.
To E flat. You got it.
Will that, for way number 2, will the movement of the upper voices always be the same as the bass?
Let's read. Page 83. The motion will be descending for a root movement of a perfect fifth down or perfect fourth up, and descending for a root movement of a perfect fifth up or a perfect fourth down. So we have a perfect fifth up. So our motion should be ascending. Did I answer your question?
Yes. So like for a fifth, it's going to be the same direction, and for a fourth, it's going to be the opposite direction, as far as like the relation of the bass and the upper voices.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep, way number 2 follows the fifth. Yep, good. All right, next we have a fourth up. Our common tone is E flat. We could keep that in the alto, couldn't we? And then stepwise motion?
Double the root
Yeah.
for the A.
That's way number 1, correct? Good. Next, we move by second up. No common tones. Everything else has to move down to the nearest chord tone. C moves to B flat. A flat's going to move down to F. E flat is going to move down to D. Those ones are easy, right? All right, now we stay the same. What does that mean? We don't have a lot of room to work with.
We can just add the. We just need a third and a root, right? We don't need a.
We have a B flat, a D, and an F. We have a B flat and an F. We need a D. Well, the alto's on, or the tenor's on the D, so we could stay on the D. But we've run out of room in the tenor, or in the alto. So we could double it. I don't know what else to do. Do you? If we go down to the D, the alto and the tenor are sharing. I don't know that that's horrible. But I think this works as well, right? Okay, we move down a fifth. So what? You can do way number 1, way number 2, way number 3. The common tone is the B flat. Well, we're leaving it.
Yeah. We're not keeping the common tone, so it's going to have to be way 2, right?
Way number 2, I think you're right. So what do we want to do?
So then in that case, the upper voices are going to move down, or
Interesting. Yeah, so what would we do? Come here to the B flat and the E flat. Does that work? I think it totally works. The book did a completely different answer. Can I show you what the book did?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to undo what we did. The book did something similar. Instead of the tenors taking the D, the tenors go down and share the B flat. The altos get the D. The tenors keep their B flat, thus doing way number 1. And the altos go up and get the E flat. Stepwise motion, way number 1. Both work. Just an alternative solution there. Okay? How are we feeling about this? I have to tell you, I'm feeling better about it than I've ever felt about it before in my life.
I'm just kind of confused on that last one because I thought all the upper voices were supposed to move in the same direction for way 2. But if the soprano part moves up from the F to the G, but the other upper voices moved down.
Maybe
So
we
how
did
does
it
that
wrong.
work?
Let's look at that. Let's look at that. Say that to me one more time. If we do way number 2,
So yeah, if we do way number 2, I thought all of the upper voices were supposed to move in the same direction, like as each other.
yes.
And since it's a fifth down, wouldn't all the upper voices be moving down?
We move down a fifth. The motion will be descending for a root movement down. Yes, so that tells us that we were wrong. We shouldn't have even done way number 2. But we did. We broke the rules. Let's see what resulted. So we did that. We kept this B flat, didn't we? And we went to this E flat. Is that what we did? I can't even remember. So what is the major catastrophe we caused to happen by doing that?
You have the F going to the G, and you have movement up and you have movement down in the upper voices.
I can't remember what we had here. Did we have this doubled? Does anybody remember what we had?
Yes, I think we had it doubled.
Well, we couldn't have because this would be way number 1. Because I have the common tone in the tenor.
Oh, wait a second. I've got a screenshot somewhere.
I think we doubled the D. Did we double the third?
Is that what we did?
Oh. Yeah, it looks like we had a D on top of the B.
For the tenor?
Yes, for the
Okay.
tenor.
And what about the alto?
The alto is
Sure.
doubled with a soprano
So
on
this
the
is
F.
what we had, right?
Let me see. I'm scrolling around.
I don't want to say this is necessarily wrong, but I'm not sure. But it definitely didn't follow what our book said, did it?
Right.
But I'm not seeing the problem right off the bat, but there could be one. I do see an octave. But it's not a parallel octave. But if we follow what the book says, you're right that wouldn't be possible, John. We would have to do way number 1. Which gave us the answer that we wrote the second time, which is
The common tone.
whoa. Sometimes drawing with your mouth is really hard.
This one right here is the one in the book too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do we feel better about that? Can I clear my screen? All right, next. Let's do number 2 here. Are we out of time? We're out of time. Bummer. We'll pick up here next time. So next time we'll have, we'll finish this self-test. And we'll take one more self-test. Again, pace yourself on the homework. We'll talk about instrumental ranges. And we'll take this self-test, which will be fun. Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none. I'll see you tomorrow in ear training.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
You're
Hi, Dr.
welcome.
B.
Dr.
You
B.
see ya.
Bye.
Juices, doctor.
See ya.